Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. This week, we're talking about Interludes 9 and 10 from Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. In these interludes, we meet one new character, Lift, and see her adventure, and we touch base with Szeth and get to see what he's up to at the moment, which it's been a while since we saw him. I guess it was the end of part 2 that he took off. So it's been a while. Anyway, I'm Data, and with me today is
Joe
and Jaymee.
Yep, no Dak today. He's in a show, so we're gonna be missing him. I think this week and next week at least. And it's a shame because he's been waiting for Szeth to come back forever, and he had to miss out on that one. So, but the rest of us are here to talk about these things. So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, just 2 chapters this time, although as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure the Lift chapter is the single longest chapter in the book. So lots going on in that one. What did you guys think of these 2 chapters?
The Lift one was really kind of threw me for a loop for a little bit. It was fun, and there were some interesting little tidbits that were said by her friend that we'll get into, I'm sure. But I mean, I know she's a small girl, like, she's 13, but some of her like lines, I was just like, ooh, boy, this is not the mind of an adult here. We're in the mind of a child. My the constant reference to my awesomeness. I was like, I feel like awesomeness shouldn't even be a word in this like world, but whatever. It was no.
Gotta call it something.
It was. I guess it was good. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just not exactly what I was expecting. So, but yeah, no, I enjoyed it. The Lift stuff was good. I did like to get a little bit. I feel like we got a little bit more of spooky guy who kills people.
Yep.
So that was interesting for sure. I want to know how that stuff ties in, or if it does tie in with kind of the rest, because I feel like I almost feel like we're missing something, like we're missing out on something. There's stuff that we don't know that would kind of help inform what's going on with that. And I'd like to be let in on it. But yeah, it was a cool little. It almost could have been. I mean, I'm guessing it belongs in the book for reasons we'll find out later. But it almost could have been its own little like short story. It wasn't quite long enough to be like a novella, but maybe like a short story.
Yeah.
On its own, really. It was kind of a cool little story. So it was fun. It was a fun read. And then the Szeth stuff, it was really short. It was all very good, very fun to read the Szeth stuff, but it was all, inner monologue. So that was a little different. But yeah, no, good stuff.
No one really for him to talk to. So, what are you gonna do?
No, yeah, he's all in his head. He's like, oh no, what did they do? I am interested to know if he's gonna go kill Taravangian, because that would be pretty interesting.
That seems to be like what it may be hinting at, right? And as for other mysterious guy, I will have a little bit information of stuff we've already read to point to when we get to there. I don't know if it'll make you feel like, oh, now I get, or if it'll be like, oh, well, that just raises further questions. But
right,
we'll see when we get there.
Yeah. I'm interested to know more about him, even if we don't get all the answers. But
cool. I'm curious, and I'm hoping when Dak comes back, he'll maybe backtrack a little for us and tell us, because I was curious how you guys would react to this Lift chapter, because I will say the Lift chapter among the fandom is very divisive. Some people love Lift and they find her really fun and entertaining, and some people are just like, oh, this is nauseating. Like, why do I have to sit through this crazy girl doing crazy stuff? So I was curious how you guys would feel.
I mean, if it ties in, more to the rest of the story, then I'm happy to read through it. Now, if it's a one-off and like we're never gonna hear about Lift or that situation again, that'd be a little disappointing, because then I'd be like, what did we did glean. I will say we gleaned a couple of things from it, I feel like, from her spren that were interesting tidbits. So if nothing else, we got those little bits of possible explanation or exposition. But other than that, yeah, it was kind of interesting. But I mean, I will say just based on the fact that we're seeing her use powers in a way no one else can, based on, I guess, some kind of pact she made. That's interesting, at least. Like, that's different. She's using the powers differently. Her spren even calls it investiture, which is I don't know that we've seen a spren call it that before. So that was pretty interesting as well.
I think at the very least you can probably be confident that, like, Azir is a major nation in the world, and we've just seen them get a new emperor, so that'll probably play in overall in some way, if nothing else.
Yeah. I was interested that Szeth had killed like 2 of their emperors already, and right? I was like, so wait, did Taravangian tell him, like, kill that one and then go ahead and kill the next one too? Like, what why?
Maybe the next guy was just also one of the guys on the list, and he happened to become emperor.
I guess that's true. Maybe he knew a possible. Yeah, like he built a list that was like, yeah, it's gonna be this guy, and then also this guy's on the list. Oh, we just made him emperor. Oh, now he's dead. That's true.
Or maybe Taravangian just really good at predicting who the next emperor would be, and just already had the name written down. He knew who was gonna write a good essay, you know?
Yeah, or used creepy death prediction power.
Oh, that's true. He's getting weird death predictions. Maybe one of them was about so and so will become emperor of Azir.
These were good. I can see why the Lift chapter is a bit divisive. It was a little, like, it felt a little jarring to go back to a character that is completely new at this point, and the pronunciation of the names, I was like, what? I don't even know how that's gonna go. Was trying to do that in my head. I was like, we're gonna have to come up with nicknames for your set Lift when we start talking it through. I think at first, like, if this had been a shorter chapter, I think Lift probably would have annoyed the crap out of me. But given that it was a bit longer and you got a little bit more insight and more depth into her, I didn't dislike reading about her. But I think the real value was her powers and how she was using that, and the fact that she can metabolize her own stormlight is super fascinating. But we know she's gone to the same place that, like, Dalinar went for his boon. Is that what
to the Night Watcher? Yes, that's what it seems to be.
Yeah. So I'm really hoping that we figure out something there. Like, that would be really cool to investigate a bit further later on. But to see how it appears that she's got, like, a radiant ability, but then there's additional ability on top of that. But yeah, not having to wait for a high storm to regenerate your stormlight, that's pretty cool. But also really cool just to see a different Radiance combination of powers and what she can do with them. I was like, if you replaced the word starving with rusting, I was like, yeah, I'm getting Wayne vibes as I was reading it. I was like, this is, if this wasn't a 13-year-old girl, I would be seeing Wayne. And just like the way she'd comment on different things that were happening, or people, like, just the observations, I was like, this is very Wayne that I'm reading now. So that was a bit taking me back in this set of chapters. Windle, I like Windle. I can't really make up my mind whether there is really something that's different. I mean, he said that there's something different about how he presents to her, and because we know, like, Syl can show herself to people as she wishes.
Yep.
Windle appears to be able to do the same thing, but being able to interact, I don't know whether that's something different is also happening to him, or if it is just Lift's ability interacts differently with him. That's interesting, because I don't think we've actually seen, like, Shallan or Kaladin physically interact with their spren. It's like, obviously they talk and they're there and all that sort of stuff, but I don't think we've ever seen that. So the fact that Lift is able to actually touch Windle and like use him to climb and all that sort of stuff is different. And I hadn't really thought about it until they spelled it out. So that was good to look into as well. And that regenerative power is really cool. I was a bit sad when, is it Gorks?
Gawks, yeah.
His name? Gorks.
It's weird to say, yeah.
Yeah. I think she calls him Gore at some point. I was like, we'll go with that. That's much easier. When he died, I was like, oh, I kind of liked him. Like, that's sad. Like, he probably won't be of any consequence in the future, but the fact that he's back sounds like maybe he will be. But I hope we get to see these characters again. And given like we saw, Ash and I earlier, and then now Ash and I has become sort of more prominent in the storyline. Whether Lift is going to be prominent or not, I don't really know. But I hope we've got something in here that's going to tie in and be of use. And it may not even be in this book. It might be a lot later, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. With Seth's chapter, the thing that was most interest to me is that he is going to find someone to kill of his own choice. Szeth Unleashed. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, that's scary. And Joe said, like, is he going to go kill Taravangian? Like, the question is, like, who's he going to kill, and do they have their life insurance paid up? Because it's not easy to stop Szeth from killing you if he decides to.
No, that's it. I think there's a few places that he could go, I guess. There's, definitely people that have mistreated him over the years, but, particularly people that have lied to him. It would be, interesting to see what happens there, and terrifying. So watch out, world. Seth's coming for somebody.
Yep. I threw into our chat this picture from the Stormlight RPG of the scene that we saw today with Lift and the guy hunting her, and you can see Wendell in here too, in case you guys are curious. It's just, I thought it was a cute picture.
Oh,
but yeah,
okay. Not quite what I'd built up in my brain, but I like him. He's cute.
Little ball of vines. Yeah, you make a really good point though about like her being able to interact with him physically, which I think you're right. I don't think that we've seen Syl, like, she brought leaves to Kaladin one time or something, but like any sort of interaction with the physical world seems very limited for both of like the ones that we know. So this is a big difference. And another big difference is like Lift seems to know how to use her powers pretty well. Like Kaladin and Sean are still learning. Lift is like zipping all over the place using her powers, and she's 13. So I guess that also shows that apparently there's not much concern about age when it comes to a spren picking you out.
No, and I wonder if there is a certain level of how much of just a natural ability do you have for it versus the way that she was granted her abilities, or was this something she always could do, but the additional piece of being able to metabolize her in Stormlight, was that the boon? Because it sounds like Wendell was always supposed to go to her, but something else has happened. I don't know whether it's just enhanced her ability or what, but maybe some people are just natural at it. Like we've seen Shallan, like she's learning very quickly. But we know Lift, it sounds like she's been doing this for a couple of months. Like it doesn't seem like it's a really long thing. Yeah. But no, definitely doesn't discriminate of age or anything really, I guess.
You make a good point that it may just be like almost anything. There's always going to be some people who are more talented, pick it up quicker than other people do. And so maybe maybe she's just a prodigy of, using Stormlight and zipping around.
Yeah, probably, of course, she's just good at it.
And now healing people too, as we saw at the end there.
Well, and that's it. Like that's something that even Wendell was like, oh no, you're not really going to be able to do that. And the fact that she was able to do it first go is a bit like, okay. It's definitely something else here. Like she's obviously good at what she does. How she's good at it, we don't know. Not enough.
That is the question. Well, okay, let's get into this. Most of our time is going to be probably spent on Lift's chapter, so let's start looking at that. I love that the little picture at the top of Lift's chapter is just like a bunch of food, because that's so fitting for her chapter. And we start out with her, like, we're in her head, and she's like, never robbed a palace before. That's interesting. It might be dangerous, not because you might get caught, but because once you robbed a starving palace, where did you go next? She's been robbing more and more important things.
From here.
Yeah. Who do I steal from next? What a problem to have. And so she's with this crew of guys who are here to rob the place. The Bronze Palace is what it's called. And this guy, Huqin, I don't know how you say. Jaymee was right. Like,
Yeah.
these names are something else.
Just Hadoken. It's fine.
Hadoken. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll call him Hulk now. Let's keep moving.
The Hulk.
It's not like most of them are involved in the chapter much, honestly. It's really the Lift show from beginning to end here. But her first impression is like, looks like a bunch of breasts. Like a lady lying on her back. And everyone's just like, what the? Like, this is the seat of our government, and we're here to rob it, but also have some respect, kid. Because Lift, as she establishes soon, is not from here. And we find out later that she is, she tells him that she's from Erie, and more specifically, I think, or no, she was from the Reshi Isles or something. But she was in Ral Alorum, the city of shadows, which sounds very dramatic. But if you look at the map of Roshar, it's like one of the northernmost cities on the whole continent. So maybe cold there, who knows? And we meet Hulk's nephew, who I don't think is given a name right away. It's just like, no, the boy is right. We must be cautious. And apparently their entire plan really seems to rest on Lift. And one of the guys is like, I mean, why'd you even bring her along? And Tigzik says, oh, she'll be useful. She's the guy's like, she's just a child. He's like, no, she's a youth. She's at least 12. And Lift's over here like, I ain't 12. 12's an unlucky number. I'm only this many, holding up her hands. And Tigzik's like, you're 10? Is that how many that is? Yeah, sure, 10. If I can't count it on my fingers, it's unlucky.
Why? Why is it unlucky if you can't count it on your fingers? I mean, I know that we're talking about a child's logic, but still.
She's 10, and she's been 10 for 3 years now. And I like, Hulk guy is like amused by this. He's like, it seems like there'd be a lot of unlucky ages then. And Lift's like, yep. And so she starts to progress across the ground, and kind of out of nowhere, there's just suddenly a trail of vines growing like along with her. And then the vines form like a face. And the face is like, Mistress, is this wise? And Lift's like, hello, Voidbringer. It really does sound like Wayne. Like, he's even got like a bridge like, hello. Like,
yep.
And this guy's like, I'm not a Voidbringer. You know it. Just stop saying that. You're my pet Voidbringer.
You're hurting my feelings.
This is one of the things that this was one of the things that annoyed me. It's like just the lack of listening.
Yep.
It's like, clearly this is a conversation that Wendell has to have all the time. It's like, stop calling me a Voidbringer. I am a Spren. We've talked about this. Like, I would be getting the dirts real fast.
Yeah, he's not happy. Poor Wendell, as we find out he's named like you mentioned. She's just like, I got you captured. No stealing souls now. And he's like,
that's not what happened.
I am a Spren, part of a proud and noble. And she's like, shut up. We're doing stuff.
Oh, man. Not again.
And we find out that here in Azir, at the seat of their government, they're selecting the new leader, who's called like the Akasix or something. And so that's all these people are in the palace selecting the new leader. And she thinks, dangerous job. The last two got their heads chopped off by some guy in white. The most recent prime hadn't lasted 2 starving days. And so, like, after saying, why did we bring this kid along? Hulk guy's like, so you can get us in, right? To her. Like, clearly she is the crux of the plan. I don't know why you're like, hey, why'd we bring... But whatever. And so what happens is, like, as Wendell moves, unlike any of the other Spren we've seen so far, like, he leaves a trail of vines behind him that eventually, like, dissipate or whatever, and apparently only Lift can see them, so it's not really that big a deal. But she can touch the vines. And he have him travel up the side of the sheer building ahead of her so she can climb the vines, which that's really useful. We're bordering on like pattern levels of usefulness just right there. And as he's being forced to do this, he's just like, I didn't pick you, right? I wanted to pick a distinguished Iriali matron, a grandmother, an accomplished gardener. But no, the ring said we should choose you.
Also, what was he going to do with a grandmother? Like, I understand, he says later that he's a gardener, so I get, like, the desire. But, like, how would that be helpful?
Yeah, is the grandmother going to zip around, like, fighting guys? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think a grandmother's going to go edge dancing around.
And I guess the leadership of these particular Spren is called the Ring, or maybe it's like the One Ring, and it's just like Sauron is. I don't know. But the Ring made him choose her. She's visited the old magic, they said. Our mother has blessed her. She'll be young. We can mold her. Well, they don't have to put up with. And she's like, hey, shut it, Voidbringer, or I'll bathe in blessed water and go listen to the priests. Maybe get an exorcism. Okay. And so she makes him go up the wall so she can climb after him. And they get to a window, and she's like, we need to void bring that. And he's like, I like his note. Have you realized that while you claim to be a master thief, I do all the work in this relationship? It's like, yeah, you do all the complaining too. So how do we get through here? And it turns out that her power is not only like zipping around, sliding on stuff, but she has the power of growth, which they throw some seeds at the window, and she, with Wendell's help, makes them grow and break through the window, which that's useful.
See, you did get a gardener. I would not consider myself a gardener, and I can't make anything grow. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. I can't make anything grow either. I'm right there with you. Stuff dies.
I can kill basil by looking at it. It's fine.
Don't look at it until you're ready to cook with it. Got it. And here's where Wendell mentions investiture, like Joe pointed out. He's like, look, I can only affect the physical realm in minor ways. That means you have to use investiture. Lift yawned. Use investiture to, she yawned wider. Starving Voidbringers couldn't catch a hint. So she's like, I don't want to hear about how we do it. Let's just do it. And he keeps trying to explain things. Your bond to me grants 2 primary classes of ability. I love that he's like explaining in detail, whereas Syl and Pattern have never.
Yeah, I got the impression that he's been with her a lot longer than they have been with Kaladin and Shallan. So like he's more sentient, and it's like, no, like I'm remembering all this stuff now. I gotta like try and tell you.
And he does say here that the first power is manipulation of friction, which you've already, don't yawn at me, discovered. You've been able to use that for many weeks now. So they've been together for many weeks at least. And now you got to learn the second power, the power of growth. You're not ready for regrowth yet, which is healing. And she's like, yeah, whatever. So she touches the seeds and summons her awesomeness. And she's like, I don't know how I did it. I just do it. And so here we go. It started right around when Wendell first appeared. He hadn't talked then. She kind of missed those days. And when they break the glass by growing plants, Wendell's like, good job. We'll make an Edgedancer out of you yet. But using this power also makes her hungry, which is not something we've ever seen before. And she lowers down something for the other guys to climb up, basically. And she's briefly worried she'd escaped capital D Darkness, the man in black and silver with the pale crescent birthmark on his cheek. The man with the dead, lifeless eyes. Surely he hadn't followed her all the way from Marabethia. That was half a continent away. I'm not looking. Oh, there's Marabethia. Marabethia is the tiny sliver of land just north of the Pure Lake that separates it from the ocean. Okay. And the other guys get in the room, and they start like rummaging in the closets and taking the clothing. She's like, "What? There's nothing in here but moldy old shoes." And he's like, "Yeah, that's what we're here for. These clothes will sell for lots of money. It's exactly what we want." And Lift's like, "What about like real riches, spheres, jewelry, art?" And he's like, "No, that'll be way too well guarded. If we take this stuff, we can live in luxury for a year or two. That's good enough." And she gets left alone with the nephew, who's just like, "Hey, how'd you climb that wall?" And she goes, "Gumption and spit." And he frowns, and she's like, "I got some magic spit." Oh, here's where she says she grew up in Ralalorum, the city of shadows. And he goes, "Is it?" And she says, "Yep, just like they say." So we don't get to know what they say about the city of shadows, but
it's just like it. Whatever that is.
And so
sounds creepy.
It does, right? Like City of Shadows can't be like a nice nickname. I wouldn't for a nice place. Freaky. She decides she's gonna head off, and the nephew's like, "No, dude, they told us to wait here." And she's like, "So? This place is gonna be interesting. There's lots of folks. There should be lots of rich folk hanging around." And then she thinks, and some really good food. And the guy follows her, and she tells him multiple times, like, "You should just stay back. Like, don't come." And then when he continues to come, she's like, "Where's all the important people? Reading forms." Forms? Yeah. With the prime dead, the viziers, scribes, and arbiters all get to fill out the proper paperwork to apply to take his place. So in this nation, you fill out an application to apply to be emperor, which he makes it a point. He makes a good point that, like, is that worse than how other countries do it? Because I don't think so. and his name is Gawx, Gawx, and she calls him Gaw, Gaw, which I'm not sure is really better.
It's just easier to say.
And he calls her out, like, I've seen you talking to yourself. And she's like, I don't talk to myself because I'm crazy. I do it because I'm awesome. And she thinks about using her awesomeness to slide across the floor, but Wendell keeps complaining because she uses it too much and she's at risk of malnutrition, whatever that meant. And Gawx is coming along because he's like, you're going to steal something good and I want a piece of it. She's like, okay, whatever. And her friend senses somebody coming and they get caught, and Gawx probably would have screwed himself over if Lift hadn't been here. And Lift is like, Mistress wants some cake. Oh, for Yezir's sake, food is in the gardens. There's cake there. No, wrong type. Mistress wants berry cake. Special dietary needs are supposed to be sent ahead of time with the proper forms.
Yeah. This is like, this culture is like Hermes' dream.
Exactly. This is a bureaucrat's dream right here.
Yeah.
The bureaucracy. I love it. I hadn't thought about that. This is great.
It's like, you got to submit dietary forms if you want berry cake.
And Gawx proves to be useful because he knows the layout of the palace. He's like, yeah, I memorized the maps before we came, didn't you? And she's like, whatever. Also, I've been here once before. I watched the Prime sleeping. She's like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, he's public, belongs to everyone. So you get to enter a lottery and come and look at him sleep. They rotate people through every hour. And she's like, what?
Another reason no one wants to be Prime. What the hell?
Right? Like, how is this fun?
Yeah, come on, be Prime. We'll get you to watch. So people can watch you because you're public property now. But also, the glass guy only lasted 2 days. So good luck to you. What are the chances of that happening again? Yeah.
Gawx must die so Lift may live.
She was like, is it on a holiday or something? He's like, no, every day. You can watch him eat, and if he loses hair or cuts off a nail, you might be able to keep it as a relic. And she's like, well, that sounds creepy. He's like, yeah, a little. Like, he just completely acknowledges that this part of his site is a little bit freaky, but, whatever. And so he's like, all the important people are out in the gardens, hoping to be called for a personal interview. The Prime's quarters are that way. And she's like, oh, that's the way the food went. He's like, what is it with you and food? And she says, I'm going to eat their dinner. He goes, wait, what? I'm going to eat their food. Rich folk have the best food. And Gawx is like, but maybe there might be spheres, like money, in the vizier's quarters. And she's like, I'd just spend them on food. So she's this 13-year-old girl has grown to the point where stealing regular stuff is just no fun anymore. She wanted a real challenge. So over the last 2 years, since she was 11, she's been picking the most difficult places to enter so that she can sneak in and eat their dinners. Which, all right, I guess you do you.
Yeah, man. Gonna eat some dinner.
And he's like, you really are crazy. She's like, nah, just bored. So he's going to go to the vizier's quarters and find valuable stuff. And she's like, I mean, okay, if you want, but if I were you, I'd go back upstairs. You're not really good at this. And I like her spread after this guy leaves. It's like, why did you even join up with this crew? Why did you just come on your own? And she's like, well, Tigzik found out about this whole thing, and he told me this would be a good night for sneaking in, so I kind of owed him one.
He told me that there was delicious yummies in the palace, so I figured, I guess I'll help you.
And I wanted to be here in case he got in trouble. I might need to help. And Wendell's like, why bother helping? He's like, someone has to care. Too few people care these days. You say this while coming in to rob them. And she's like, well, yeah, I ain't gonna hurt them. Just gonna eat their dinner, And I love the exchange. You have an odd sense of morality, mistress. She's like, don't be stupid. Everybody's sense of morality is odd, particularly to a Voidbringer. And he's like, I'm not. And so they make their way around. She has to threaten him some more. You got to do what I say or I'll prune you. And she's like, that sounds threatening, right? Whatever. She's like, why am I the only one that can see you? Is it because only the pure in heart can see you? And he says, that theory isn't ridiculous, but the idea that you consider yourself to be pure in heart. She's like, I'm pure. I'm a child and stuff. I'm so storming pure, I practically belch rainbows. It may be obvious. I am of the camp of people who kind of find Lift a little bit delightful and enjoy the chapters. So
I think it's just, it goes a little too far sometimes. I'm just like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
She's youthful and fun. Like I got it. Like, the first 2 times she said she was awesome.
Eventually, while
she
she's
really
sneaking,
believed in herself.
She does, right? Like, encourage this. Of course, it may just be, normal teenage extreme overconfidence in your own abilities, but that usually ends poorly for people. But as she's sneaking around, she hears one of the guards saying, like, I caught a thief trying to ransack the vizier's quarters. Might be more. Keep a watch out. So, there goes Gox. She warned him. And so he mentioned earlier that the first power she uses, like, she can manipulate friction, which is what she does as she turns awesome. She became awesome. And she just can slide right across the floor. Doesn't matter if it's carpet or wood or what. It's like she's sliding across ice, because I guess she's eliminating the friction. And nothing can hold her when she got capital S slick like this. So anyone tries to grab her, she just slips right through. She is frictionless, essentially, which is kind of cool. It's a fun power. And like Wendell mentions that she's an edge dancer, or an edge dancer in the making, at least. And you guys may remember we had an epigraph about the edge dancers. It says, when I'm going to read it real quick to remind you guys how the edge dancers were viewed. It said, when Simol was informed of the arrival of the edge dancers, a concealed consternation and terror, as is common in such cases, fell upon him. Although they were not the most demanding of orders, their graceful limber movements hid a deadliness that was, by this time, quite renowned. Also, they were the most articulate and refined of the Radiants. So, doesn't that sound just like Lift?
She sounds so
yes, articulate and refined.
Wendell explains that somehow you're partly in the cognitive realm. It's the only thing I can think of to explain why you can touch Spren and why you can metabolize food directly into Stormlight. And she's just like, whatever. He was always saying words like that, trying to confuse her. Starving Voidbringer.
I also like how all of her curses are about being hungry.
Yeah, right? It fits so well. And Wendell's like, why did she give you this incredible talent? Why a child? There are all these other people she could have chosen. And then we get a brief look at the guys debating the essays. And apparently they've written their essays poorly because none of them wants to become the Prime.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's been going too well for the Prime lately.
Yeah.
It's like, no, my essay is clearly awful. Your essay's so good. No,
I had 3 misspellings in the first paragraph. It's like, what do we do when nobody wants to be Prime? And one of them's like, maybe we should pick the worst application? Like, if you were trying to write a bad one, then wouldn't the worst one mean that you're the cleverest? And they're like, no, we can't pick somebody. What if we pick somebody who actually sucked? Meanwhile, Lift is slipping around unnoticed, grabbing their food and things. And that's when he shows up. Darkness. A tall Azish man with a white mark on his cheek, like a crescent. So as Joe points out, we did see this guy once before, when he killed the old cobbler. And the description was very similar, so it's...
How dare he kill a delicious dessert?
But what you guys may not be aware of is that we have caught glimpses of this guy a couple of times before that.
Oh.
Before this. And so I'm going to touch on where else we've seen him. First one was all the way back in the prologue to the Way of Kings, when Szeth is going to kill King Gavilar. He's walking through the room where the party's happening, has to step around Dalinar Kholin, who's slumped drunken at a small table. He looks around like, where's Yasna, the king's daughter? He doesn't see her. Elhokar, the king's son and heir, sat at the high table, ruling the feast in his father's absence. He was in conversation with 2 men, a dark-skinned Asish man who had an odd patch of pale skin on his cheek, and a thinner Alethi-looking man who kept glancing over his shoulder. So it doesn't mention the crescent moon shape of it, but it's a pretty good description of the guy that we're getting a description of here. So he is at the party that night. And what's more, back in the prologue to this book, we see him again, because the prologue is once again about that same night. So let me bring up that part. Yasna is in the hallway. This is just after she's met with the assassin, and it's like, hey, she sends the assassin to be on the staff of Elhokar's wife, if you remember. And then she leaves to kind of go back to the party and see what's wrong. Or not, she doesn't know anything's wrong yet, but she's going to go back to the party. And as she's going down the hallway thinking about stuff, she hears some voices up ahead. And the first voice says, I'm worried about Ash. And the other one says, you're worried about everything. And the first guy says, she's getting worse. We weren't supposed to get worse. Am I getting worse? I think I feel worse. And the second guy goes, shut up. And the first guy says, I don't like this. What we've done was wrong. That creature carries my lord's own blade. We shouldn't have let him keep it. And then they come into the same intersection as Yasna, and she sees they were ambassadors from the west, including the Azish man with the white birthmark on his cheek, or was it a scar? The shorter of the two could have been Alethi. And they stop talking when they notice Yasna. And Yasna's like, oh, is the feast over already? And the Azish, when they say Azish, they just mean like dark-skinned, essentially. The Azish guy's like, yes. And his stare makes her uncomfortable. And she's like, were they talking about a shard blade? And then the short guy's like, come on, we got to go. And that's the end of that interaction. So this guy was hanging around that night with somebody else, and they're doing some mysterious who knows what.
It's certainly a mystery, although we know they seem to be killing people that commit crimes for some reason.
Yeah, that's given what we saw of this guy when he killed the cobbler and what we see of him here, he seems to be going after criminals, although not generally criminals that other people care a lot about, because the cobbler, he had to like spend a long time digging up the thing from his past that he did.
Yeah, and that like it made me question, like, did the cobbler also have spren powers and they just hadn't manifested? He didn't know about them? Because
they did manifest. We saw the cobbler like healed a kid's foot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he did have spren powers. So yeah, not only is he killing people that are criminals, but specifically ones that have sprenny powers. So why? He says in here to like keep the Voidbringers from coming back or something, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah. What exactly is he after? So he kind of just strolls in his uniform into this room where all these important people are meeting. And one of the guys like, what's the meaning of this? It's actually a woman, but he says, I'm here for a thief. She's like, how dare you interrupt? And he's like, I have the proper forms.
I did my bureaucratic due diligence, madam.
It's not what you expect to hear, is it? It's like, you're interrupting. What are you doing? It's okay. I still do the paperwork, guys. Don't stress. I'm allowed to be here.
I even I filled in the paperwork. It's all been stamped and signed, and also I can kill her. That's part of the paperwork.
Yeah. Also, when did you fill in all the correct forms?
Right.
Did you stop at reception on the way in? Like,
that's why it took him so long to get there. He was filling out. He's like, all right, I know she's in the palace. Let me go fill out the paperwork, and then I'll catch up with her.
Yeah. Gotta fill in the visitor's log and get signed in and escorted through the building.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's got like a group of minions, she says, that are forming his escorts. So but he has like a stack of papers that he hands over. Like, here's all the forms. And Lift tries to run, eating on her way out. But as she goes through the door, she takes a cudgel. I don't know how you say that.
Cudgel.
I've always just read it. I don't think I've ever heard it spoken. She takes one right in the chest, cracking her ribs, and she drops to the floor. Apparently, Darkness was waiting for this. He says, even the chaotic can be predictable with proper study.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. And then we get something even weirder. He's got a little, like, it says an animal like a kremling, but with wings. But the wings are tied up, and the legs are tied up. Has a little face, not crabbish, but like a little axe hound.
Yeah. What the heck is this thing?
And he holds it up, and it like sucks the awesomeness out of her.
So he's got some kind of creature that can eat Stormlight. Like, what?
Yep. What indeed?
It's like an aluminum creature.
Oh, because aluminum is like the anti-investiture. Okay, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. What's all this then? I was gonna see. We've only heard of one Kremling looking thing with wings before. I guess technically two, because Elokar had the corpse of one on his desk. But it was after Risen jumped off the top of the giant island crab. She was gifted this creature. They came all this way to trade a fortune for the corpse of one, and she is gifted a live one. And it says that it looks like a Kremling, but has wings folded along in the back. So maybe the same thing, maybe not exactly the same thing, but that's the only other Kremling with wings we've seen.
The gift of the giant crab turtle. That should be a Stormlight holiday special.
There you go. That's their version of Santa. It's the giant crab turtle. I like it. Darkness says, keep all spheres away from her. She must not be allowed to invest. And now she's freaking out. trying to get free, but they've got her. And Darkness like turns to the Vizier's like, okay, I'm out of here. I won't bother you anymore. And Wendell goes here and manages to like throw a roll or get a roll to her. Well, I guess he doesn't. He makes it wobble. And one of the Viziers is like, I'm highly disturbed by this. Your paperwork is in order, and I see you even include a plea granted by the arbiters to search the palace itself. But surely you didn't need to disturb a holy conclave. And he says, justice waits upon no man or woman. Also, this thief is anything but common. With your leave, we will cease disturbing you. And it says he didn't seem to care if they gave him leave or not. He just starts leaving. And then the Vizier, still looking through the paper, finds there's a leave of execution in here. You're going to kill the child for mere thievery? He's like, well, in addition to trespassing in the Prime's palace, interrupting a holy conclave, yeah, all that stuff. And this Vizier does not seem to like this, but she also can't really say anything against it. He does, after all, have the proper paperwork. So
he is, after all, technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Yeah. And Lift starts to try to get away a little bit, but gets caught again and catches the Vizier's like attention and mouths please. And the Vizier like shoves the table to clip the elbow of the minion holding Lift, and she gets away for a second before they grab her again. And all she's done is grab this roll. And he's like, what, really? All that for a roll? So apparently he doesn't know about her ability to metabolize food into Stormlight. So
who would?
Right, yeah. Apparently it's not common. And they come in, they're like, hey, we caught this other guy, and Gox is right there. I like how he's like, so you did have accomplices, one of the guards shouts and slaps him in the face. And Wendell's over here like, well, that was uncalled for. Like, this is where he draws the line, like slapping kids around. And then like Lift eats the roll and they're about to leave, and suddenly he's like, wait, something is, and Lift gets awesome again. And she actually manages to like make her way away from there. And Wendell's like, what's become of me? Thieving in the night, chased by abomination. I was a gardener, a wonderful gardener. Cryptics and honor sprent alike came to see the crystals I grew from the mines of your world. He's like, what have I become? And she goes, a whiner. Darkness's minions come around the corner, also with a shard blade. She's like, dang it. There's multiple shard blades in this crew. That's not good. And Wendell's like, who are these guys, and why do they care so much about you?
Because I don't. I mean, never mind.
And she decides, like, wait, yeah, shard blades, worth a whole kingdom, but built to kill Voidbringers, and they have 2 of them. They're after you. And Wendell's like, what? No, they're not. They are. Don't worry, you're mine. I won't let them have you.
Don't know how many times we've been through this, Lift. I am not a Voidbringer.
Poor Wendell. He's the most put upon Spren. It is a very different relationship from what we've seen with any person in Spren so far, and I just like how different it is. And he's like, that's endearingly loyal and not a little insulting, but they're not after me. And then one of the minions comes out, and he's got Gox, and he's got a knife to his throat, and the guy says, don't move or I will kill him. And Lift says, starving bastard, that's dirty. And so she's thinking, oh, well, this guy's got to be bluffing. He's a lawman type. He wouldn't kill a captive in cold. She starts moving as she's thinking this, and then the guy slits Gox's throat, and she's like, wait, no, he couldn't, he didn't. And Darkness says, that was poorly done. You will be punished. And the guy's like, well, I mean, I had to do what I threatened. You have not done the proper paperwork in this kingdom to kill the child.
That was poorly done. You didn't follow the bureaucratic procedure to kill that child.
Exactly. Like, that's the only thing bad about what you just did. And the guy says, aren't we above the laws? Like, he's got, Darkness has a hold of Lift, but this statement is apparently so outrageous that he lets go of her and walks over to slap the guy in the face. Without the law, there is nothing. You will subject yourself to their rules and accept the dictates of justice. It is all we have, the only sure thing in the world. All right, man, if you say so. And so Lift takes the opportunity. Wendell's like, run. And she's like crying, seeing this boy killed, but she does run. And she's on the verge of actually escaping. Hulk guy has already left, not caring enough about his nephew to even look for him. Just like Lift expected, honestly. And so she's going to go out the window, but she starts thinking, like, she who would cry for Gox? Nobody. He'd be forgotten, abandoned. And she says, you spoke of something earlier. regrowth. Each bond grants power over 2 surges. You can influence how things grow. So can I use that to help Gox? He's like, yeah, if you were better trained. As it stands, I doubt it. You aren't very strong and aren't very practiced, and you might be dead already. Why do you care? And she says, because someone has to. And so she goes back and finds the kid still lying in a pool of his own blood, surrounded by viziers and guards. And she goes up and manages to heal him. Somehow. She forces the energy out and heals him.
Yeah, remember, she's awesome. That's how.
Yeah, right. And here's Darkness again. He's like, it appears that you were an Edgedancer. I'd wondered which of the two you would be. They were a glorious order once. Where you blunder, they were elegant things of beauty. Could ride the thinnest rope at speed, dance across rooftops, move through a battlefield like a ribbon on the wind. It's unfortunate they were always so concerned with small-minded things, ignoring those of greater import. It appears you share their temperament. You have become one of them. And she's like, I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to. And he's like, I know. Why do you hunt me? In the name of justice. And she's like, there are so many people who do so much wrong. Why are you coming after me? And he says, others may be detestable, but they do not dabble in arts that could return desolation to this world. What you are must be stopped. And he summons his shard blade, and he's going to kill her until someone shouts, she is pardoned. And so the miracle of this healing, the viziers have decided that this guy can come back from death. It's a sign that he could survive the attacks of the one all in white. This is the new prime Akasix, Gox, ruler of Azir. And one of the scions, who I don't know the scion, says, the Catasixes have spoken. And Darkness goes, the heralds? They have done no such thing. So I guess we were told earlier on that some of the other regions like worship the heralds as gods. And so that seems to be kind of what's happening here. Praise to Yezir, which sounds a lot like Yezrian, Catasix of Kings. May he lead in wisdom. This youth is prime. He has been prime, blah, blah, blah. So you had all that paperwork saying that you could kill her for committing these crimes, but now she's pardoned. So shove it. And he's not happy about it, but he dismisses his shard blade. And he's like, all right, praise Yezir, herald of kings. May he lead in wisdom if he ever stops drooling. And he bows to the new prime and leaves. And I love that after he's gone, one of the viziers is like, does anybody know that guy's name? When did we start letting officers of the law requisition shard blades?
Like you can just requisition one. It's like it's a completely foreign concept to them that you could actually have something without filing the proper paperwork.
Yep. I think it's interesting that apparently you can requisition a shard blade. Like they have some and you fill out the proper paperwork and you can use it. There's probably more rules to it than that, but that's kind of interesting. And so she's like, so you're the new emperor now. And he's like, yeah, I guess. It seems I performed a miracle or something. And the chapter ends with her being like, good for you. Can I eat your dinner? Oh, Lift. So hungry. And then we cut to the Szeth chapter, which, as we've mentioned, is a very short one. He is atop the highest tower in the world. The souls of the people whom he murdered lurked in the shadows. They whispered to him. If he drew close, they screamed. They screamed when he shut his eyes. So he's taken to blinking as little as possible. So, he's gone crazy is what this sounds like. It's like, yeah, I just gotta not blink and then I won't hear the screaming. That's what any sane man would do, right?
He found the problem. He's got a way to solve it. It's fine.
Yeah. There you go. The highest tower in the world, hidden in the tops of mountains, was perfect for contemplation. This is the only place where the stones are not cursed, where you can allow to walk, because this place is holy. This place is above all the clouds, not bothered by the high storms. Urithiru ruled even the clouds. So he is at Urithiru, he says, which is a place up high in the mountains. Doesn't sound necessarily like a floating city or like Shadesmar for that matter. It sounds like he's in a normal place, if he's correct about where this is.
Right.
The massive tower is empty. 100 levels built in ring shapes, with each one below being larger than the one above it. So you get lots of balconies lit by the sun. The east side is a sheer flat edge that looks like the tower was sliced in half by a shard blade. What a weird shape. There's even glass facing towards origin where the storms come from, which you never see. So we actually find out kind of a lot of interesting details here about Szeth, more than I think we knew anything about before. He fought a man with Stormlight. That meant problems. Years ago, Szeth had been banished for raising the alarm, the false alarm, it had been said. The Voidbringers are no more, they told him. The spirit of the stones themselves promised it. The powers of old are no more. The Knights Radiant are fallen. We are all that remains. So he raised the alarm that something had come back, and they said, no, you're wrong. You are truthless.
Rude.
Yeah, right. And that's how it sounds like that's how he ends up truthless, bound to an oath stone. And he looks up at the sun and says, have I not been faithful? Have I not obeyed, kept my oath? Have I not done as you demanded of me? He blinked tired eyes, screams. What does it mean if the Shamanate are wrong? What does it mean if they banished me in error? It would mean he'd killed for no reason. So he drops down and he decides that he's going to go someplace. It's going to take a while to get there. Days, in fact. But he was going to find answers. Or barring that, someone to kill of his own choice this time. And that's that whole chapter. So yeah, that's somebody's in trouble.
Somebody's going to die. Or maybe. Gonna be chased for sure.
I mean, he wants answers first. So maybe he'll find some answers. But finally, he's not following somebody else's orders in all things, which I don't think we've ever seen him not following someone else's orders. We've never seen what he would do on his own, so it could be scary.
Well, it's like he said, he accepted, he held true to the oath that he made, and he was branded truthless, and, to realize that you've been put under this thing that you don't want to do for so long, and it was a mistake. That will break a man.
Yeah. Also, all the crazy people, the dead people screaming in his brain when he blinks, that can't help.
I mean, there's that too, yeah.
All right, we're moving into predicaments. We are reading 4 chapters for next time. The first one is the last interlude of this section. It's called New Rhythms. That's interlude 11. And then chapters 59, 60, and 61. 59 is called Fleet. 60 is called Vale Walks. And 61 is called Obedience. Where are we going, y'all? What do we think? We've met an interesting new character and reconnected with a character who's been around from the beginning. Where are we going from here?
So New Rhythms to me sounds like it's got to be related to Eshonai or the Parshendi because, rhythms, song, all that good stuff. So hopefully we'll catch up with them, see what's popping off. And then what was the next one? The first chapter in part 4?
Fleet.
I don't know if that's means fleet of foot or a fleet on the water. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means. I would guess fleet of foot, but I don't know. Vale Walks. I assume since that's Shallan's alter ego, that will be her chapter. Possibly
One
going
would think,
back.
yep.
Yeah, possibly going back and seeing the Ghost Blood peeps. So got Vale Walks. And then Obedience, I feel like that's got to be Kaladin being obedient to Dalinar / Elhokar. Being in prison. Not sure exactly what's going to happen, but a couple of things I want to touch on just from the section that we read today. I don't have a ton of things backing this theory up except for 2 of the people that have now Spren companions that we know of went and used some old magic. So, well, actually, I guess we don't know that Dalinar has a Spren companion. We only know based on what has been said before that he's possibly a bondsmith. So if he's bondsmith, then he's got, some extra surge powers.
Maybe he just hasn't met his Spren buddy yet.
Maybe so. But anyway, Lift and Dalinar have some kind of surgy powers, and both of them went to use old magic. And so I'm wondering if somehow, because I feel like that Spren called the Night Watcher or Night Mother or whatever his mother. So
it did sound that way, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering is everyone who attached themselves to the old magic, are they the ones that are getting Spren and Surge Binding powers? Whether directly or indirectly, if somebody used the magic on them or they used the magic on themselves, is that connected? And each of those people have that power because of the old magic. That's what I'm kind of posing that theory here, that that's a possibility. Just because we don't know enough about it, but we know at least 2 have been affected by it, metabolizing and then creating investiture out of food. I mean, that's a really crazy power.
Mm-hmm.
As far as we know, Dalinar just got forgetfulness power for specifically his old wife, but like, maybe there's something else attached to that old magic that he was also imparted with. I feel like him forgetting his wife was mentioned a lot in the first book, and hasn't really been mentioned as much in this book. But yeah, I feel like there might be something to that they're in some way connected. So I've got that going. Other than that, I mean, there was just some little tidbits that the Spren said. The fact that he called it investiture, that was very interesting to me, because I don't feel like, nobody has called it that. I don't think in this series so far. It's always just been like Stormlight. And so we've got that little nice tidbit. And then, yeah, Szeth, think he's in Ur-Thiru or wherever he is, going to kill. I'm going to predict that he's going to kill Taravangian, because that's who made him kill the most people, it seems like. And or maybe he's going to go back to Shinovar and kill the people who were mean to him. Who knows?
Yeah, that sounds like where it started, right? So
maybe. But yeah, that's all I've got right now. I'm more looking forward to getting into this next part and seeing like what starts happening, because we're getting close to being about 3/4 of the way through the book. So
yeah, we are at this point 66%. So 2/3 of the way.
Yeah.
What you said about Dalinar, and we haven't like heard much about him forgetting his wife or whatever, this book made me go back and look, because I was like, that's true. Why would... And Dalinar has not been a perspective character in part 2 or part 3 of this book. So it's been since part 1 that we saw from his perspective, which may have something to do with that.
Yeah, well, he hasn't been a full perspective chapter character, but we flashed to him a couple of times during, like, right at the end of this last part.
Oh, that's true, during like the fight and stuff. You're right.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, obviously, he's not thinking about those things. But you're right. He hasn't been a character that we've seen through the head of in a while.
So since we're going to be starting part 4 here, which is called The Approach, I will let you guys know, as I usually do, also who the listed perspective characters are. It is Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar.
Well, there we go. Get Dalinar back, and really the main 3 back from last book, because I feel like those were the main. Yeah, those were the big 3 we had in the last book.
But this is an interesting prediction you've made about maybe the old magic is related somehow. So we know Dalinar.
Yeah.
We know Lift now. So then the question becomes like, where in like Kaladin or Shallan's life have they intersected potentially with either with the old magic or someone who had visited and gotten the old magic themselves and affected them some way? So that maybe it's like an Easter egg hunt now. Like, look out for where the old magic may have cropped up.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something to it, right? Because this is the old magic. It's just kind of referenced a bunch, and we don't really get any information on it. It seems like the people who even utilize it don't fully understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it obviously exists and works. And so, like, I feel like with how studious a large section of this world seems to be about trying to figure out how the way their world works, I feel like they're always talking about how there's all these great scholars who try to figure out how the world, like, why has nobody figured out this old magic stuff? Is it because it's like kind of forbidden and on the perimeter of their society? I don't feel like that's a good reason not to like look into it. But so I'd just like to know more about that in general, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, I went and got this boon. It's like, okay, what did you have to give up for the boon, and what is the boon, and why did you need a boon? And like, it's kind of weird.
It's been hanging over us for a little bit. So yeah, I agree that it's like, it would be nice to have more information on this at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I always struggle at the end of a part because I don't really know where we're going next. The next chapter's got to be Eshonai. She's listed as a perspective for the interludes at the beginning, so makes sense. And again, Vale is obviously going to be Shallan. The other 2, I don't know. Maybe, hopefully Dalinar first. It's been that long. I didn't realize it had been that long since we've seen inside his head. But what exactly they're going to go on about, who knows? Kaladin, I imagine, is going to be considering jailbreak somehow. But yeah, other than that, I really, really don't know where we're going. I think I'm kind of in agreement with Joe's thoughts on the oh my god, what magic? The old magic? Was it dark magic, black magic? No, none of
Old
those.
magic, yeah.
That's the old magic. It's got to tie in somewhere. It's got to have some significance. You have one character pop up who's been exposed to it, and you're kind of like, oh, that's interesting, and that's strange, but there's got to be something else to it now to have a second character, albeit a new character, and maybe how they differ. We know that Szeth has these abilities, but in somewhat of a different form. So whether it's the norm is to come from the old magic and Szeth is the outlier, or there's just multiple ways to end up exposed to this. Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. I don't really have thoughts on exactly where it's going to go, but it's very interesting to see how that unfolds. Maybe Lift's storyline and Gork's as the prime. Perhaps that's setting us up for something in another book, maybe, to get that character back. We don't always get the characters back from the interludes, but there's got to be something there, especially now that we've got the revelation that this guy with his crescent scar on his face has shown up a few times. And I'm interested to learn more about him too, because it sounds like he's definitely been through something since the night of Gavilar's death, whether that's progressing or what. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, I don't really have any predictions. Like I said, I always sort of struggle at the end of a part because you've had things kind of wrap up nicely. I still don't really know how this book's going to wrap up. We've got so much story still left to go that I'm under no illusions that we're not going to get things in a nice gift wrapped parcel at the end of the book. I don't even know what the end of this story looks like. I think we're still aiming towards whatever's happening in another 30 days or so from now. But yeah, I hope we sort of get the fallout of the battle at the end of part 3 as well coming up. But yeah, just a lot of thoughts rolling around in there, really.
Yeah, the end of parts can always be tricky because we've got a little bit of a wrap up, right, and some big stuff happening. So it's like, where are we gonna go? But you're right that we haven't always had interlude characters return, but we have had one or two of them return to do interesting things. So it'd be nice if we get to see Lift again. She's the only Edgedancer we know. There's a novella coming up called Edgedancer, so maybe there's a relation there, or maybe it'll be some other Edgedancing things happening. But
I imagine we'll definitely see the Edgedancer again, whether it's Lift or whether it's someone else or referred to in another form. But yeah, hopefully it's Lift. I think as long as she stays kind, like she's a little bit annoying and on the surface a bit dismissive and stuff, but that that someone's got to care. That came up a couple of times in that chapter, and I think she's not a bad person. So
yeah, I feel like that really does highlight. It's like, look, she's going around stealing stuff. She's a little silly. She's a little kid, but she's like, somebody needs to care about these people that nobody else cares about. Like, that's a positive character trait that you're like, oh, you're okay. Even whatever else is going on with you, you're okay.
Yeah, I can handle this aspect of you. That's all right.
But also, as you pointed out, like, I didn't realize how long it had been since we had Dalinar perspective either. So seeing that we'll have that again coming up, that's good. We want to. Dalinar's a big character. We want to see what's going on there. Not that he hasn't been in the story. We've just had like Adolin and Shallan perspectives of him, and Kaladin, I guess. Kaladin's guarding him, so yeah.
Yeah.
But so a decent number of chapters for next time, and as you guys pointed out, we got some interesting possibilities for characters. Veil walks. I think you guys both are like, well, that's got to be Shallan. Which, yeah, what else could it be, honestly? And the new rhythms does sound like we're gonna revisit the Parshendi and see what's up there. So we had that moment where Shen left, and we had predictions that like were all the Parshendi, or all the Parshmen leaving, and we haven't heard anything about that yet. So maybe we will touch back to this with new rhythms. That would be. Have we seen any Parshmen since then?
We saw some in this chapter. I don't know, in Lift's chapter she mentioned some, but I don't know that that they were. I don't know when this interlude is taking place in the timeline, but then I also think there was one chapter where we saw some more, like in the camps or something.
Oh, they were pulling Shalon's wagon when she went out to visit the Ghost Bloods in that one chapter, and then they got killed and burned. So I guess they've been around a little bit. Pretty sure that's since then. Okay, sorry, random sidetrack. Let's do a couple emails. We don't have any new patrons. We don't have any new reviews this week. Although a couple of these emails do have screenshots of reviews. So get your thing ready for that, Joe.
Ah, okay.
I won't actually go through the first email yet because we'll save this one for another couple of weeks. This one from Niati, because there's actually a specific question for Dak in here. So we'll leave it for a couple of weeks till he gets back. The next email is from Baha, who last week was one of our new patrons. So now we got an email and with a review attached also from the same person. So it says, longtime listener, first time emailer. Howdy, y'all. I came across your podcast a few years ago because I was a huge fan of Mistborn, and y'all's podcast convinced me to read the rest of the Cosmere, and I couldn't be more appreciative. I have nothing but admiration for y'all's commitment to y'all's podcast, especially since it convinced me to read past Mistborn. I've rated y'all 5 stars on Spotify for quite a while, but waited to email y'all for a misting power until I caught up to the current episode of the podcast and subscribed to your Patreon, not only so I can get both abilities on one episode, but also so I can make sure to pay close attention to the portion of the episode because I listened to your podcast at work. Wasn't until the time of next. Baha, I guess I should have read that one last week, but,
What did I give Baha last week? Do you remember?
Man, I could not possibly tell you.
Oh, that's a bummer. Well, Baha, I'm going to make you a slider this week. I hope that's what you want.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's fun.
So thank you for patronizing and reviewing and writing to us. I'm glad that we convinced you to read more of the Cosmere. Going along with this to some level, at least. Clearly, they're caught up now, so probably blowing past us. The next one is from Liz. And Liz says, hi, Sanderlanche crew, new listener/reader, thank you. First off, thank you so much for all you do on the podcast. Coordinating calls, editing, managing socials, and balancing your own lives is no small feat, and we truly appreciate the time and effort you put into bringing us amazing content. 5 stars. I recently got back into reading for fun. A friend recommended several books, including Name of the Wind, with the caveat, maybe you don't read these because the third book still doesn't have a release date. Naturally, I dove right into the first 2, thinking the third one would be announced by the time I finished. That was a year ago, and we see how my prediction is going. I'll pause there because yeah.
Look, we haven't seen a book since 2011, so actually 12? Was it 12?
Hold on. Wise Man's Fear was Wise Man's Fear. Stupid. Google says 2011, March 2011.
Yeah, I was right. 2011. It's been a long time. I don't think we're getting that book.
I actually went to the release event or a reading that he did when that book released in 2011 in Houston at a store called Murder by the Book, and listened to him read, got some books signed. Was so excited for that, and it's been a very long time. No book. Very sad.
Yeah. But thanks for listening to the to listen to the podcast though. That's we appreciate it.
She got some more email here. Let me keep going. Next, he suggested the Stormlight series, but once I learned about its expansive world building and interconnected magic systems, I wanted to read in a way that would maximize my understanding. I found your podcast in August 2024, and much to my friend's disappointment, I decided to read Mistborn first. I've been following the reading order data laid out for new Sanderson fans. I just finished The Lost Metal, and I'm currently listening to your latest episode on the epilogues. I was really impressed with your predictions. I was shocked when Kelsier died, when Marsh turned out to be alive, and just as I thought I had everything figured out about the Lord Ruler, the plot twists get twistier. Before the final events of the book, I had even told my friend how sad I was about Kelsier and Marsh, because I wanted to know more about their potential. He managed to keep a straight face, saying, yeah, real shame they're both super dead. After finishing the first book, I knew I had to be more observant to make predictions alongside you. Do not trust words written in metal? Nailed it. Secret conjurer? Got it. Earring as a spike? Check. Sazed as the hero? Yes. I didn't, however, predict how much we would all dislike Spook. Makes for some excellent jokes, I think. I went into Secret History blind, and it completely rocked my world. After that, I've been along for the ride with Elantris, the novellas, and Era 2. I'm looking forward to your journey through White Sand and beyond. I've set a goal to be caught up on all things Cosmere by the end of the year, just in time for Wind and Truth, so wish me luck. Questions. Is there a character in any of the books that you've read so far that you think has a similar occupation to you, or an occupation you think you would excel at if you were on their planet? That's the first question. What do you guys think?
Similar occupation or well, I don't think so. I don't know. No. What would I excel at? Gee whiz, man. That's a tough question. I mean, I'm probably not a good thief. Probably don't want to be a good thief. We're talking Kelsier.
You could go for like Wax and aspire to be a rough slaw man.
A rough slaw man? That doesn't sound appealing at all.
It doesn't sound fun, does it? No.
No. Maybe I could be really good gum chewer. Like a world class.
Oh, Wayne did that, yeah.
Yeah, world class gum chewer. No, I mean, trying to think of what jobs. I mean, because most of the people are heroes. I don't really want to be a soldier. That's for sure.
You want to be a god like Lightsong? Would that be
No,
fun?
definitely not. That doesn't seem like so much of a job as it is like annoying. Plus all their gods were shams anyway. Man, that doesn't sound like any good jobs that our characters have. They all live, they live in tough times, all of them. It doesn't sound super appealing. I'm pretty comfortable in my life.
You could be a princess like Ciri.
No, definitely not that.
Okay. What about you, Jaymee? Is there anyone who has a job like you, or whose job you would think you would be good at?
Nah, I don't think there's a job like mine. Not really. No. What would I be good at? I do like problem solving and researching things. So maybe I could go be buddies with Navani or something.
Oh yeah, scholarly engineering type thing.
Yeah, I feel like that would be good. But yeah, I would also make a rubbish thief. It would be not good for me.
That's funny because my first thought, and maybe it's just because we just read it, I was like, I'd like to have Lift's job of breaking into places and eating their dinners. Doesn't that sound fun? But now that you said Navani, I think like Yasna's job of like historian and trying to like piece together what really happened in history, that sounds like a thing that I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not too bad now that you say that.
You did get a degree in history, so.
It's true. I do have one of those.
The second question that Liz sends is, other than Spook, who's your least favorite character in all the books that you've read up to this point, and what do you think that you have in common with them?
Oh.
So here, Jaymee, you go first this time.
Yeah.
My least favorite character. I mean,
we've had a couple, yeah.
We've had a couple that I really didn't like. I really didn't like Olrian, but she wasn't a bad character in the end. She just rubbed me the wrong way, and sometimes you get those people. Otherwise, I really disliked Cabsol, but I don't mind Jan. So that could be something that I have in common with a character I didn't like. We'll call it that.
Okay, I like it. You're like, Jam's okay. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you. I guess we don't know for certain that he liked Jam that much, because he brought Jam because Shallan said she liked Jam. So maybe he loved Jam. Or maybe we just turned him into Jam Man because that's what he decided to use for his assassination attempts.
It's just what he brought to the table was the jam.
Yeah.
I too bring jam to the table. My child loves jam.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a nice preserve?
I mean, Yasna apparently, but
yeah. She also doesn't eat bread, so, you know.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? Who do you like least besides Spook, and what do you have in common with this person?
Man, that's a tough one. I guess I wasn't a huge fan of Straff Venture, obviously. I wouldn't like to think I have anything in common with him, though. That doesn't sound appealing to have something in common with Straff Venture.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a child. That's something you have in common.
True.
I mean, you're a much better dad than Straff Venture. But
yeah, we both have children, sure. Let's go with that. I don't have a secret child. I don't have secret children that I turned into
personal army.
Yeah, personal army. But sure, we both have children. There you go.
Are you secretly super rich and ruling over like a small nation state? Okay.
No, that'd be a lot of responsibility. I wouldn't mind being, secretly rich or whatever, but ruling over a small nation state does sound exhausting.
He never seemed to pay much attention to it, honestly.
Yeah, but he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I'd like to have money like Scrooge McDuck, sure, why not? But it doesn't work out that way.
Man, I don't know who I like least. Maybe Sadius, or maybe it's just because we're in Stormlight now and he's front and center, but I really don't like that guy. And what do we have in common? Aside from being just, amazing, intelligent plotters of schemes, I also would really like to have Dalinar's sword. There you go. Because that would be cool.
Yeah, Dalinar's sword's pretty cool.
The email finishes with, all the best from Montana, Liz. P.S. Jaymee, you rock. Since you came from a more mystery book background, I really appreciate your perspective on characters and twists. Thanks.
Yeah, Jaymee's the best, isn't she?
Oh, thanks. I wouldn't go that far, but thank you.
We would. Okay, and then Liz attaches her 5-star Spotify review.
Oh, Liz, what a review. I assume, Spotify, 5-star and it up. That's great. Since I made the last person a slider, let's make you a pulsar, because I like Marisai.
Who doesn't? She's great.
Yeah, she's great.
All right, and then we have finally gotten to the end of our emails, except for that one that I'm saving for when Dak comes back. So look at that. We made our way through them. So if you'd like to send us an email, like those folks did, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Patreon, where I have been putting up my readings of Wind and Truth preview chapters. So if you're interested to hear my reactions to those, check out our Patreon. We are on Patreon as the Sanderlanche podcast. So it's not hard to find. Check that out if you're interested. Thank you to people who are emailing, to our patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you to everyone who just shows up and listens to the show every week. We're glad that you are enjoying it. At least I assume you're enjoying it. If you're hate listening, still thanks, I suppose.
But why? It's just a waste of your time.
But regardless, thanks to everybody out there. Remember, if you're following along, we are doing 4 chapters. Well, 1 interlude and 3 chapters for next time. So that is what to read if you are going along with us. Music by Miracle of Sound. And wasing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Vasher. Crabs ahoy!
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. You're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.